So you probably have some understanding, knowledge of about the Chan history, the history of Chan Buddhism. In the 5th century, that the first patriarch of Chan Buddhism, Bodhidharma, came from India and then arrived in China. Okay, he brought the Plattformsutra, and which is legendary, and he also sit for some say 6 years, some say 9 years, sitting face the rock in silence. He has very, very few students, and one of them, Huike, became his the second patriarch. The teachings that Bodhidharma left behind is the 2 entrances and 4 practice. Have you? The teachings that Bodhidharma left behind is the 2 entrances and 4 practice. Have you heard of that? The entrance through practice and the entrance through the teaching. That's 2 entrance and 4 practices. And that's also a very good one. And Huike, is also a legendary figure. He doesn't leave any teachings. He didn't leave it behind. And the 3rd patriarch is Sheng Yen. Very, very good teaching of him, facing mind. Heard about it, or perhaps read it? Okay, very good teaching. I gave Dharma talks on facing mind in Vancouver Center for over a period of 3 years. I gave teachings on Saturdays, our group sitting practice, 30 minutes each Sundays. So the whole teachings of the 3rd patriarch went over 3 years period ended. And the 4th patriarch, Daoxing, he also left a teaching of him. And then the 5th patriarch, Hongren, which is the Huinen's master, the teacher. Actually, starting from the 4th patriarch, Daoxing, it starts the formation of the Chan school in Chinese Buddhism. In India, all the practitioners or renunciants, they don't have a place, a temple to stay, right? And the Buddha tell them, now you can go here and start spreading the teachings to the local people. He actually direct his disciple to spread the teachings outward to different areas. So there's not like a monastery or a temple. They have a Sangha community living together. They're pretty much on their own. That's the Indian traditions. And when they came to China, and beginning from the 4th patriarch, starting to have some changes, or we can say it has to adapt to the Chinese culture. In Chinese culture, the begging for food, the alms offering, is not acceptable in Chinese culture. It's considered a beggar. They have to live on their own independently. So they start to live at a certain place. They do farming, grow their vegetables and farmland. And they stay together and then practice with one teacher. And Daoxing is the first one. He changed the Indian culture and make it more adaptable to Chinese society, so that the Chinese people will accept Buddhism, right? You have to make the modification for that people in that world, in that culture, to be able to willing to receive, to accept, and then they will listen to what you said. So at that time, Daoxing, he instead of to receive, to accept, and then they will listen to what you said. So at that time, so Daoxing, he instead of traveling a lot of places, he stayed at Dongshan, which is the eastern mountain. Okay, and then he started farming, and his disciples, they come to stay with him. At a point of time, he has 4 disciples living with him. It's like a pretty big village. They do their own farming. So the farming considered a practice to them, a work practice. So during daytime, they do the farming, do all kind of maintenance work, cleaning and whatever to support their own livelihood. Early in the morning, at night, they practice. So it's very different from a Buddhist time, right? The Buddhist doesn't do anything. He just, they will sit, long sitting, and sometimes walking meditation. So their life is devoted to practice completely. Okay, so when Buddhism came to China, the livelihood, the style, the living style changed to be more adaptable to Chinese culture. And his disciple, the 5th patriarch, Hongren, inherited this tradition. And he also becomes more famous, and many disciples came to practice with him, 500 people. Can you imagine, every single meal you have to serve 500 people? That's a very, very big community. It's not like once in a while we get together, come here to listen to a Dharma talk. They actually live together and practice together. And then, in their teaching, in the Chan school, their methods of practice and their teachings is also varies from the Indian tradition. That's where the direct approach of practice starts to evolve. Instead of the Indian traditional meditation practice, it's a gradual practice, step by step. You need to start with the 5 methods of stilling the mind and 4 methods for mindfulness, 4 foundations of mindfulness, and then go on and on and on. The Chan school, they directly point to the mind. That's where you need to cultivate. It's not going by stages. The gradual approach, the step-by-step approach, here you need to use this, let's say, cultivate. It's not going by stages. The gradual approach, the step-by-step approach, here you need to use this, let's say, 5 methods of stilling the mind. Use the method, and this is the goal, to calm your mind, and become concentrated. And next, you need to cultivate the awareness, the vipassana. Then you use a different method, the contemplation of vipassana of your body, mind, your thoughts, everything. And then you move on to another method. The goal is different. So every step, you use different methods, and your goal is different. So you're constantly moving on and changing. But the Chan approach, there's only one goal, one direction, headed straightforwardly. So this is a very, very big difference of Chan schools, the teachings and also the masterpiece of Chan Buddhism. And then when they get to Huinan, and the Buddhism, Chinese Buddhism, Chan schools start to flourish. Not only because he's an eminent, absolutely remarkable Chan teacher, but also he's capable of training and receiving many students of different capacity to help them to reach enlightenment. And all these students have different capacity and personality, and they were able to spread out and then to share the teaching with many more people. And a lot of them, they are able to continue their legend, generation by generation. So this is why are able to continue their legend, generation by generation. So this is why Huineng is so important, so prominent in Chinese school. And another thing is his teachings, which is all his teachings compiled in this Plattformsutra. This is the so-called typical, I would say, perhaps the Bible of Chan teaching. Okay, very concise, very comprehensive, very direct, and also deep, very deep and profound. Okay, so tonight I'll, there are all chapters, 10 chapters of the Plattformsutra. There is various translation versions of the Plattformsutra. The one that I use is Zongbao, which is his version. Okay, in this Plattformsutra there are 10 chapters, and I'll mainly to introduce you the first chapter, the origin of the Plattformsutra, and chapter 2, Prajna, which literally in English means wisdom. Okay, the profound, true, ultimate wisdom. And the chapter 4 is samadhi and prajna. Samadhi and prajna. And then I will touch the chapter 5, sit meditation. And this actually it's chapter 2, prajna, and the chapter 4, samadhi and prajna is the most important 2 chapters of the Plattformsutra. So I'll give you some points that the essential points in these chapters. Okay. Okay. This is how Master Huineng look. China is a very, very big country and big territory. So actually the people from south, like Huineng, their body build is very different from the northern, from the people grow in the northern areas, which is very cold and chilly. A lot of they cannot produce different kind of produce, and they eat their food, their diet is very different. I don't know whether you have the similar situations in Switzerland. Probably not. Yes, people from the south and from the north. That people from the south. The right is their main people in the northern part. They like to have noodles made of wheat, and they don't have bread, but they do have a steamed bomb, made of flour. The dumplings, everything made of flour. The southern people, they eat rice, so their body build is smaller, and not as tall as the northern part of the people. So, and that contribute to a very interesting dialogue with his teacher later on, I will mention. Okay, so first I will introduce you about Huineng. He born in a poor family. Father died when he was only 3 years old. And, he makes a living. He lived with his mother, who is a widow, and make a living by chopping and selling the firewood. There's people who stayed in, were reciting the Diamond Sutra. Upon hearing the Diamond Sutra, he got an experience of enlightenment. His mind suddenly opened to something that he had never experienced before. And then he asked that person, what you are reciting is, what you are reciting, and who did you learn this from? And that person this is the Diamond Sutra. And and this is where I got it from Hongren, the fifth patriarch. And Hongren always advocating people, encourage people to recite the Diamond Sutra. It would be very beneficial for them and help them to gain the wisdom. And then, having that experience, gain the wisdom, And then, having that experience, he knows what he wants to do for his life. He decided he wants to follow the teachers, to see the teachers, to learn from it. Early on, when he had that experience, he knows what he wants. He knows who will be his teacher. He knows what he wants in his life. This is quite unusual, right? And then he decided he want to visit the fifth patriarch, Hongren, and so he's living in the very southern part of China, and he travels over 3 months of period of time to get to the northern part, the northern province, Hebei, where is the emperor lives. That where his palace, the capital city was. Very busy, prosperous city, and a lot of population. So all the officials, emperors, the royal family lives there. Took him over 3 months' time to get there. And there's some encounters which is very interesting. When he sees the fifth patriarch, could you imagine somebody traveled on road or maybe on foot for over 3 months, what he would be look like? Entering a big Buddha hall with 400, 500 people at the attendance. He just proceed to him. It would be kind of weird for all his students, because many of them, they are officials. They are governors. They are the intellectuals, They are civilized people, intellectual people. And all of a sudden, they saw somebody dressed in southern costumes and, very tired, maybe not shaving his beard, whatever, and look quite tired, and then proceed to the fifth patriarch. And the fifth patriarch, Master Hongren, asked, "Where are you from? Why are you here?" He said, "I'm from the southern part, Lingnan, which is, southern to the mountains, the southern mountains. I'm here just for one thing. Say, I'm from the southern part, Lingnan, which is, southern to the mountains, the southern mountains. I'm here just for one thing. I'm just here for one thing, to attain the Buddhahood. Nothing else." And he replied to him in person, in front of so many people. This is astonishing. Would you think so? You came to see a teacher, I came here just to attain Buddhahood, nothing else. And the teacher, guess what? What did he reply to him? "Oh, you're from the southern part, which is remote. It's like barbarians, I mean, how can you attain Buddhahood? Barbarians." And the northerners. But how were their Buddha natures be any different? The Buddha natures has no differentiation of south or north, right? And then he said, the body of barbarians, me, and the body as the venerable reverence, Master Hongren, are different. Our look, our body build, everything is but very different. And how are Buddha natures differ from each other? Our look, our body, whatever, appearance be different, but the Buddha nature of yours and mine are not different. But the Buddha nature of yours and mine are not different. wow. And the teacher said, oh, gee, I never, in his mind, he realized this is not an ordinary person. And then he said, say no more. Go to the back, to the kitchen, to do some errands, to do the service, to do some labor work. He said. And then he said, I always derive wisdom from my mind, the self-nature. The self-nature is cultivating merits itself, the pure mind. What kind of service do I need to do to cultivate more virtue and merit? The pure mind, somebody has the pure mind, always will be able to generate wisdom and compassion, be kind, be wise to other people. He will definitely not do causing any harm to others. This is the most valuable, precious merit and virtue that anybody can attain. So he's just like, Chan dialogue with the teacher. The teacher knows absolutely he's not an ordinary person. He just said, say no more, just go to the back, So that's when he went. So he stayed in the back in the kitchen. What he did, pounding the rice. He's too skinny, too little, people from the southern. So they have to step on the stepping stone, using the weight of the body to pound the rice. But he's using the weight of the body to pound the rice. But he's too tiny, he's too light. So what he does, he's holding a big piece of rock, and tied to his waist, so increasing the weight so he can pound the rice. So 8 months later, Master Hongren went to the kitchen and saw him doing that. Then he knows he's a very dedicated practitioner. He put all his heart, his whole being into doing this task, even pounding the rice. His whole being doing the thing. Nothing like selfish mind, liking thinking of my own interests or goodness or whatever. And then hit the stone on the ground 3 times, which means come to see me 3 o'clock in the morning. It's very interesting. This is somehow some kind of a very private communication. And then Huineng went to see him 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. And then he say, I know you have absolutely very good karmic and very good karmic roots, very sharp roots. Your understanding and experience of the Dharma, I know that you have come into, you have already reached a certain profundity. So, and then he gave teachings on the Diamond Sutra. He asked him about the Diamond Sutra. And when a certain profundity. So, and then he gave teachings on the Diamond Sutra. He asked him about the Diamond Sutra. And when the teacher came, explained to him to the sentence of abiding nowhere, give rise to the mind. He and Master Huineng experienced a profound, a great enlightenment. And then he will tell the Master Hongren what he realized too. And then the Master Huineng, Hongren confirmed his enlightenment experience. And then he transmit the Dharma, transmit the robe to him, and confirming that he's the 6th patriarch. So he received the transmission from Hongren in the middle of the night. Okay, and then he told Huineng just leave here immediately and go to the south, and you not to share the teachings, dharmas in short times, but wait till the right moments. All the causes, conditions come into the right moment, and you start teaching. So, and then he actually went on, and actually afterwards, Hongren told his disciple, he already transmitted the Dharma to Huineng. Okay, and then people say, what? Is he losing his mind? How could he transmit to the barbarians? And they couldn't believe that, so a lot of people came down south and chased after him, try to, to see what he has, and try to get the robes and back, and couldn't believe that he got the transmission. So actually that went on. So he has to hide in the mountains, among all the hunters for over 10 years. And afterwards, and then one day he went to a town, and then having encounters with the master In Zhong, and then he received tonsure and started to give teachings. He was recognized. Prior to that, he was still a lay person. He was not a monastic. Only 10 years after hiding in the mountains, accompanied those hunters, and afterwards he went to accompany those hunters, and afterwards he went to the Fashi monastery. And there's another story there, which I will go on to that. Okay. So he received the transmission from Master Hongren, and there is another. There's quite an interesting incident. Before he transmitted Dharma to Huineng, Master Hongren, he announced that he wants all his disciples to converse a verse, a poem, from their heart, what they experience, what they see the world is, what they see the reality is, and then from their verse they will know their level of attainment, their practice. And then I think Huineng went to Hongren. Huineng was in his 30s, and Shen Xiu was in his 50s. At 56 or 57. And Shen Xiu was the head monk, just beneath, second to Master Hongren in his temple. And also the emperors and all the officials, they have great reverence to Hongren, and also Shen Xiu. Shen Xiu has been the head monk for many years. So everybody thinking, it must be Shen Xiu, he's our head monk, he's our teachers, and he would definitely receive the transmission. And Shen Xiu took a kind of a very laboring and very, very struggling experience, and wanting to write something to get the confirmation from his teacher, but on the other hand, also somehow he's still the teachers of many other fellow practitioners. He may be short of their expectations, a lot of complicated emotions going on. But afterwards, he decided he's still going to write a verse, and he wrote it on the wall of the corridor facing Hongren's bedroom. So Hongren will see the poem without submitting the verse directly to Master Hongren. He wrote it on the wall. And this is the poem that Shen Xiu wrote. The body is the Bodhi tree, the mind is bright mirror stand. Be always diligent in brushing it, and let no dust alight. And so Hongren saw this verse. He knows that Shen Xiu is not enlightened. So that Shen Xiu is not enlightened. So, but he couldn't say that. He couldn't say that to other students because he's already head monk. He's already the teacher, senior teacher, teaching all his disciples. He said, "Oh, this is good. You just practice according to this this verse. You will not fall in the evil realms, okay? And one day you will become enlightened." He encouraged them to cultivate in this one. And Huinan just heard this verse when somebody reciting it, okay? And he knows that Shen Xiu is not enlightened, but Huinan is illiterate. He doesn't read and he couldn't write. So he asked someone to write on the wall next to Shen Xiu's verse, a verse he composed himself. So not as then, fundamentally there's not a single thing. Where can any dust alight? Even though we are not yet anywhere close to Huinan, but seeing these two verses together, we know which one is better, right? Okay. In Shen Xiu's verses, you clearly see there's a Bodhi tree. There's a mirror stand. Okay? If you continue to do it, okay, that's your practice about. Huinan is completely negates the Bodhi tree, the mirror stand. There is not a single thing fundamental, the Bodhi tree, the mirror stand. There is not a single thing fundamentally. A thing means something in your mind, something you become attached to. So not a single thing means there should be no attachment in your mind. When there's no attachment in your mind, how could there be any dust? The dust means referring to afflictions and vexations. Only when the mind is attached to certain things, there's the dust. Okay? In this Dharma Sutra, the phrase that Huinan gained the great enlightenment is without a body. That Huinan gained the great enlightenment is without abiding, give rise to the mind. The mind here is the pure mind. The pure mind. Pure front, pure without any vexations, afflictions, and defilements. Without abiding, it means whatever we encounter, what matters, we are engaged or interact, the people we are interact, or the things that we do, the tasks we do not become affected or disturbed. In other words, be influenced. Something that you like, a person that you love, a coffee I have to have, a chocolate bar that I need to get, that's kind of an attachment. Without abiding means not become attached to anything, any object, any person. And that's the meaning of without abiding. You'll be freed of any entanglement, free of any afflictions. But it doesn't mean we still interact with people, we still carry on and do our tasks, but we don't introduce ourselves. Being affected by that, either love, like, or dislike. Dislike itself is also kind of attachment. It's a different kind, negative. Aversions, avoidance, escape, hiding. It's also attachment, just different form of attachment. But it doesn't mean that we become like a stone, a piece of rock, or a tree trunk, or a brick that completely have no consciousness with people, but freed of any vexations, afflictions. The mind, give rise to the mind, is the pure mind that sees things clearly, freed of any entanglements and attachments. So you will see things very clearly as they are and know how to respond to them, how to interact with them to bring the most benefit to them. Okay, so give rise to the mind. And okay. Can see. Can see. Okay, all right. Sorry about it. Didn't pay attention to the time. Okay, so I'll go through the few passages. Okay, here, the first chapter, the origin. This is very important. At the very beginning of the Plattformsutra, this is the most important passage. And you know, he was asked to give a Dharma lectures in front of the people. The first thing he said, good friends, you know, Bodhi in of itself is fundamentally pure. The self-nature of the Bodhi is fundamentally pure. Just use this mind, the fundamentally pure mind, direct to seeing one's self-nature and achieve Buddhahood. Seeing one's self-nature and achieve Buddhahood. Compared to the Diamond Sutra, the Diamond Sutra called, focus on, the formless, the teachings are formless. No characteristics. No characteristics of self, others, sentient beings, and time span. It only talks about this. But the Plattformsutra focuses on our self-cultivation to be able to see one's self-nature, and then the goal is to achieve Buddhahood, become a Buddha. Okay. So this is the purpose, Plattformsutra. Okay, and this is a very good example. He went to the Fashi monastery, and that's when the time he decided it's about time that he come out, no longer hiding in the mountain to give teaching. He went to the Fashi monastery. The Fashi monastery it literally means the Dharma nature monastery. And that at this time, the wind was blowing, the banner was swaying, and there were two monks arguing with each other. One monk said, "Oh, the wind was moving, it was blowing so hard, so that's why the flag is swaying. And the other monks say, no, it's the banner that's moving. They argue on and on. When Weinen was standing there, he went forward and said, it is not the wind that's moving, nor the banner moving. It is your mind that are moving. So he's directed them. This is how ordinary people, most of us, we looking outwardly to see what's going on here, what other people do, and start to commenting and criticizing, and all the things happen externally. And what Weinen says is direct them to look inward, your mind, to look inward, to perceive how your mind works. What's the mental activities? What's the pattern of your mind? How it works? It's not really about the external environment. So cultivation is turned inward. Okay, and the third, here is the stories that we can see the cultivation of the mind. And the third, here is the stories that we can see the cultivation of the mind in 3 levels. The first one is these 2 monks. They see outwardly, externally, see what's going on in the environments. And then the second one is what Weinen directed to contemplate, to see your mind, to turn your awareness inward. And the third levels is somebody like Weinen, who has already reached great complete enlightenment. His mind is not moving, clear, so he can see what's actually going on, what those people think, what I can do to help them to see their mind. Okay, so there are 3 levels of practice here. What I can do to help them to see their mind. Okay, so there are 3 levels of practice here. Okay, chapter 2 talks about prajna, and what is mahat, what is great, how can one attain prajna, wisdom, and what is the ordinary person versus Buddha, are they any? This is a very good passage. Prajna is the wisdom derived from Bodhi, is fundamentally possessed by all people of this world. Okay, prajna is the wisdom that one realizes when one becomes enlightened. One sees the true nature of all phenomena, everything, the empty natures of any objects, matters, incidents, empty of any fixed, unchanging, permanent nature. That's what it means, emptiness. Empty of any fixed, unchanging, permanent nature. So prajna is the wisdom that perceives any fixed, unchanging, permanent nature. So prajna is the wisdom that perceives the empty nature of all phenomena. And it is only because their minds are deluded that they are unable to become enlightened themselves. So we all possess the pure mind. The pure mind, the Bodhi, to attain, to be able to see one's pure mind or attain the Bodhi, is not relying on cultivation. It's not due to the practice. It is because our mind are deluded. It is because our body, speech, seed are pure mind. Our mind is fundamentally pure there. So the practice is to help to purify our verbal, physical, and mental actions. So when our actions, body, mind, and speech are pure, we'll be able to see our pure mind, the fundamental nature, the self-nature. The fundamental nature, self-nature, is the same thing, just use it in different words and different terms. When our body, mind, and speech are deluded, are defiled, we do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, and have illusory thoughts or erroneous. What is the condition of our mind? What is the state of the mind? Completely defiled. When you're emotional, can you see things clearly? Can you make a good judgment and make a right decision? Mostly not. And you're not able to see things clearly, make the right decision and the right judgment. And that's the problem. If our body, physical actions, speech, and mental activities, thoughts can be purified, and the fundamental pure minds just appear, manifest in front of us. Okay? So we are unable to get enlightened. They must rely on a great spiritual teacher to show them how to see their self-nature. So they rely on the nature. So they rely on the teachers first to tell them, you possess the fundamentally pure nature. You are nothing less or inferior to the enlightened one or to the Buddha. You possess the same Buddha nature as the Buddha, as the enlightened one. All you need is you know how to purify your behaviors, your speech, and your thoughts. Then you'll be able to see your true nature, the Buddha nature, and just experience that possessed by the Buddha. What is prajna? You should know this is exactly the passage of the Plattformsutra, what I have on the PowerPoint. It's no less because one is foolish, no more if one is wise. The foolish is deluded, so he cannot see his self-nature, whereas the wise is enlightened, then he sees his self-nature. It is only different that the foolish, and the wise is enlightened. One's fundamental nature is Buddha. Apart from this nature, there is no other Buddha. So not seeking Buddha outward, outside. Once you realize your Buddha nature, experience, have that realization, that instant, you are the Buddha. But does it mean if you had an experience, you are the Buddha? But does it mean if you had an experience, you are the Buddha, just like the Shakyamuni Buddha? What do you think? If you had a moment, had an instant of seeing your pure nature, had that experience, realizing your pure Buddha nature, here it says, that's the Buddha. The Buddhahood is not something you seek or try to procure externally. It's internal. Does that mean if you had that experience, are you a Buddha already? What do you think? Well, you are then, with that experience, you have the faith. You gain the faith of practice to become a Buddha. You know what it is like. Just like somebody drink the orange juice. You know how orange juice tastes like, right? Even though you had just one experience. It would be no different from somebody drinking orange juice every day on a daily basis, the same orange juice. But it would be very different from who have never drink the orange juice, right? So you have the face, you know what orange juice is, what it looks like, what it tastes like, you know. But you are not yet the perfect, completely enlightened Buddha. Because your experience of seeing the nature but you are not yet the perfect, completely enlightened Buddha. Because your experience of seeing the nature just lasts for very limited time. It's not forever. The complete, perfected, completely enlightened Buddha is perfect in both wisdom and merits all the time, everywhere. So the quality of gaining that realization of seeing the nature is the same that the Buddha realized and experienced. But for us, whoever had that experience, just for a limited time. After that period of time, it's gone. So we need to continue to practice, to nourish ourselves, the mind, to have the capacity to have that experience last longer and longer. And not conditioned, subject to time and the place and the space. That would be the goal. Okay. I hope the explanation is clear to you. Okay. If you have any question, just ask, okay? If it doesn't make sense to you, just let me know. Okay. What is Maha? What is great? You know, I really like this passage a lot. I'll just read it to you. What does Maha mean? Maha means great. The capacity of the mind is vast and far-reaching. Like empty space, it has no boundaries. It is neither square nor round, okay, free of any form, large or nor small. You know, this is a label. It's not something fixed. So don't be conditioned to that fixed idea of certain things. It has no above or below, no long or short. This is something you can understand. Above or below depends on where you stand. The second floor is above right now. If I go on to the third floor, the second floor will be below. So it's not like absolute definition of above or below. Depend on where you stand, where you are. Long or short, the same thing. Compared to the gentleman over there, I'm short, you're quite tall, but who knows, we maybe have a person of it 2 meters high, then you'll be short, he will be tall. No, so there is no person of it 2 meters high, then you'll be short, he will be tall. No, so there is no absolute standards of tall or short. It has no anger or joy, right or wrong, good or evil, beginning or end. It doesn't mean this person, this mind, this enlightened mind has no recognitions, no understanding right or wrong. It knows, but he does not become attached. And because you're wrong, so I don't like you, I hate you, you do the wrong things, you've made mistakes, you harm people, then I don't want to have any interaction with you. Whatever you need, I will not give it to you. That's a discrimination. My teacher, Master Sheng Yen, said, there's no bad person in very good comments on this, no right or wrong. Make sense? Okay? He knows what is right, what is killing people, definitely a wrong thing, but I do not become discriminate him. What if he's in desperate need of help, I will also give him my help. Okay? That's what it means. All Buddha lands are ultimately the same as empty space. It means boundless. All the things can be there. I do not say, I want this person to be in this space. I don't like that person. I'm just, get rid of that person. Everybody can in this space. The wondrous nature of people is originally empty. There's nothing that can be grasped, attached to. And then the emptiness of the nature is the same. Not grasping, not getting rid of. Okay? There's a sentence, the very beginning, the first sentence of the Faith in Mind by this third patriarch, Sun Can. The great way is not difficult if you don't pick and choose. That's the grasping mind. We always pick and choose. Take what we want, we don't want, just get rid of them. Don't even come before my eyes. That's how we are. And that's, here comes of tremendous vexations and problems and headaches. And we don't even come before my eyes. That's how we are. And that's, here comes of tremendous vexations and problems and headaches. And we make our life miserable, nobody else, because we constantly pick and choose. Okay? This is a very beautiful passage. I love it very, very much. The space of this world embraces within itself the mirror things and all the images of form, no matter what shape, what form, what color, what size, just embrace them. The sun and the moon and the stars and the mountains, rivers, earth, the people, bad dharmas, good dharmas, the heavens and the hells, all the great oceans and the mountains, including Mount Sumeri, all of these exist within the empty space. Everything. This is the home for everything. And that's what great Maha means. And our mind could be like that too. This passage, I would, many years ago, when I started reading the Plattformsutra, this is always the passage I will read every time. After reading it once, reciting it, I feel my mind's open, read every time. After reading it once, reciting it, I feel my mind's open, my moods change, I'm happier, so that like the whole world opens. So I love this passage very much. And this itself is also a good practice. Because when you're reading the words, your mind starts to change, transform. Our space, this world we live in, is actually conditioned by the mind. How big our mind is, then how big our world is. If you always feel that your space is limited, you don't feel like free and at ease, at certain circumstances or wherever you go, check your mind. It's your mind that you see you are not comfortable with. You are not at ease. So your world is built up by all these things. So your space, your world is small. So reading this passage will help us to open up our mind, transform the limited space of the mind and to become far-reaching and wild. So this is a very good practice. It helped me. So the emptiness of people's nature is like this. The true nature of our self, the mind, is profound, is boundless, is far-reaching, contains everything. Our own self-nature is able to contain the mirror dharmas that is great. The mirror dharmas, absolutely everything are within the nature of all people. Every one of us have this nature. If you can regard all people, the bad as well as the good, without grasping or rejecting, free of any clinging, your mind will be like empty space. This is called great. Okay? Anything that you can describe by any measurement is not great yet. This will be truly great. The capacity of the mind is great and far-reaching, permeating the Dharma tattoo, all the cosmos. When functioning, it is clear and distinct, discerning and responsive, it knows all. Here it indicates practitioners. They're sitting, they can sit for long hours. They don't feel any wandering thought. They think their mind is calm. They feel, it seems like seemingly everything is clear and calm in front of us. But they may not practice correctly. They may fall into a state which we call no mark. The mind is actually blank out. So here it tells us, if your mind is not clear, bright, distinct, and discerning and responsive, then you may not practice correctly. Some of the experienced practitioner has this sickness, and it would take a lot of effort to come out of that. The mind become completely blank. They feel like, and it would take a lot of effort to come out of that. The mind become completely blank. They feel like, profound, invasive, but the mind is not utterly clear and bright. If there is a little bit haziness, cloudiness, then that means you probably need to consult with a teacher, check with the teacher whether you practice correctly or not, okay? All is the one, and the one is all. Things naturally come and go, but the essence of the mind is unimpeded. That's prajna. We are running out of time, So this itself, all is one, and the one is all. I can give, simply on this for 30 minutes, but, hopefully in the future, this is a state of the mind, okay? So for future, for Hildy, okay? For Hildy to explain it to you. Okay? How can one obtain prajna? In every place, in every moment, in thought after thought, in every single thought, never become muddied, diluted, obscure, and constantly acting wisely. Just this is practicing prajna. So this tells us it's not about sitting for long hours, sitting till you probably worn out. A lot of the cushions got worn out. But practice, the cultivation, the ultimate cultivation is every instant your mind is clear, acting wisely, not obscure, not muddled, not hazy, not cloudy. Not muddled, not hazy, not cloudy. The mind is cleared in every instant. That's the practice of prajna. With one deluded thought, prajna is away. You no longer have prajna. With one right thought, prajna springs to life. You, me, everyone. Okay? So this is very important. That's something we can actually use our daily life. An ordinary person and the Buddha. With the preceding moment of deluded thought, one is an ordinary person. Okay? But with the succeeding moment of enlightened thought, which is bright and clear, not deluded, not vexed, and calm, pure, one is Buddha. Okay? This is something we definitely can practice in our daily life. Always come to the mind. Is my mind clear? Is the thought, my mind is pure at this moment? When you realize not, come back to your fundamental true mind. Always come back. This is your true home. This is your true refuge. This is something we can do. And we have to do. If not, how many times, how many hours or in a year that you think you can actually engage in the sitting meditation on the cushion? 7 days retreat, how many? One 7 days, 2 7-day retreats, maximum 14 days out of 365. So this is something we can always practice in our daily life. It's very, very powerful. It's very powerful. And how to realize Buddhahood. Use your own true nature and its inherent wisdom to contemplate and illuminate all dharmas without grasping and rejecting them. Seeing as they are, but do not derive the emotions of like or dislike. Grasping because you like, you want more. Rejecting because you don't like. You can see that you derive. It's not to say that all of a sudden you practice this, you suppress your emotion of like or dislike. We're sentient beings. We're not there yet. Clearly, the first step is clearly seeing that such emotions of like or dislike arise. See it arise. And when you practice over time, that's such emotions. It may still arise, but weaker, not as strong as before. And you don't act according to your emotion. Okay? This is how we should do. The first steps, we will not notice anything. We just act on it, grasping, rejecting, push people away, and we're not aware. We didn't have the clear awareness what we were doing. Not even seeing what our mind is working. So be aware that such emotion comes. You see something, some person, you feel something, you know there's an emotion of like or dislike, but do not follow it. Do not act on it. Just be clearly aware it's follow it. Do not act on it. Just be clearly aware it's arising. It will not stay there forever, and see that it will then start to gradually perish. And that's the cultivation of awareness and clear mind. This is something we can practice in our everyday life. Just this, seeing one's true nature and realize Buddhahood. This is all it's talking about. Seeing that, do not follow with your actions, grasping or rejecting. Okay? All right.
You will have to come back for the list.
All right. All right. Well, we have gone to chapter 2, the prajna, and prajna is a very important chapter. And the chapter 4, there are 3 very important teachings or notions or concepts of Buddhism, and it's not just a concept or notion; it is also a practice, a way to realize the enlightenment. Okay, which is called the the formless, no form, no thought, and non-abiding. And I'm pretty sure that Hildy can carry on this as a wonderful piece of teaching. Well, so we will stop here. The Plattformsutra, Chapter 2. And how do you feel so far about it? Yeah, what I said, did it make sense to you? Was it clear, reasonable? And how do you feel so far about it? Yeah, what I said, did it make sense to you? Was it clear, reasonable, sensible? Okay. And I didn't really have time to give you examples of, why does this, and usually I would do that. But I really, apologize that because I'm suffering a jet lag. I only slept 3.5 hours last night, and I took a short nap, but, so didn't really get to organize the talk very well. Any questions? Any question? In our practice, perhaps, I don't know, they have all different purpose, to clear their mind, to deal with their emotional issues or have more wholesome well-being of their. And then they want to see progress and hopefully get enlightened. But here, the Plattformsutra tell you this is the goal, and this is how you're going to do it. He did not emphasize on sitting a lot, even though sitting is helpful, but become enlightened, become a Buddha, does not rely on sitting. As a matter of fact, a lot of great Chan masters, their enlightenment experience did not occur during their sitting, including my teacher, Master Sheng Yen. Okay, the Dharma, if with the D capital letter, Dharma, with the D capital letter, the big D, it means the teachings, the Buddha's teachings, okay? If with small d, it means all phenomena. It includes the material things, the stick, the microphone, the paper, persons, and objects, anything that you can see, you can touch, you can sense, you can hear, sound, and taste, and smell, and also including your thoughts. The image, the mental activities, mental formation is all called phenomena. In other words, your body, whatever your body and mind can sense, is all phenomena. Okay, that's the small body and mind can sense, is all phenomena. Okay, that's the small letter D. That means everything that you know, you experience, you encounter with in the world. Concrete and abstract. Okay. Yes?
For the practice, it means to be aware of your own thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And to realize when thoughts are deluded and then come back to
Well. Okay. Yeah.
Am I right with this?
Well, thank you very much for this question. This question is a very, very important one. Here in the teachings, it says the no thoughts. No thoughts. If you can do that, that'll be wonderful. Okay, but it is very hard for us to make that our main practice or our primary practice, because our mind is always scattered, deluded. Just like sitting, once we start to sit, 20 minutes after, my mind, and then I realize my mind is somewhere else. It's shooting a film. Maybe I'm the actress, okay, and then editing, doing a lot of things. After 20 minutes, and you're sitting, there's nothing disturb you. You're sitting. You're not like you're doing housework. You're not at work. You're just sitting. Your mind can be away for 20 minutes before you realize it. So it's very hard to say, I'm going to cultivate no thoughts, especially in daily life. You become emotion. It's very hard to say, I'm going to cultivate no thoughts, especially in daily life. You become emotion. You start yelling and criticizing others, you cursing others. And then you realize, what am I doing? Where did that come from? Where's that strong anger come from? We don't have that very profound capacity, ability of being aware, okay? That takes long practice. And what I would suggest, if you have strong emotions, then you know you are very much afflicted, okay? Emotion is one thing very easy for you to detect. It actually means it has been brewing and accumulate inside of it. When it becomes emotional, you make a scene, it's obvious to see. So thought is much subtle, much subtle, much refined than emotions or actions. Sometimes when we are angry, we're agitated, our actions become very coarse and heavy, right? Somebody passed by you, he's very angry, wow, there's a wind of anger, rage go past you. We know that comes along with his action. This is coarse, something obvious, apparent that we can notice. So it's very hard to, let's say I start to practice being aware of my thought. Usually, you would not have a strong hold of that methods. So I always suggest you, to begin practice, especially in daily life, begin with your body. Very, something you can sense, you can feel, whether your body is tense, agitated, discomfortable, sitting here, moving all the time, then your mind is not at ease, okay? Or your body is tired, then when your body manifests a lot of things of you, internal, inner self, your mind, your body manifests. We don't know the condition of our mind, the state of mind, but our body tell us, and our body would not lie to us. But unfortunately, we don't know our body. We don't know the condition of our bodies, the status of our body. Because why? Our mind is always turned outwardly, grasping things. We don't even pay attention to our body. So it is very good to redirect our awareness from other external objects to our body. First, the body is very easy to be aware, to detect how it is. Your body is tense, then your mind is also very tense, very tight, agitated. So what do you do? To relax your body, to calm your mind, to breathe, so your mind becomes calm, your body relaxes. Another reason to always direct awareness to the body is to shorten the gap between your body and your mind. The meditation practice, the first goal, the first threshold, the goal is body and mind together. Our body and mind are always away from each other. Now that causes a lot of discomfort, unease in the mind and also in the body. So in our daily practice, even, I do that. Especially when I'm very busy, a lot of things, very headache going on, I always turned the awareness, place my awareness on the body. So I know how I feel, how I do, and then I sense that I immediately take care of it, by, harmonizing your body and mind, that you will not get to a point, all the emotions, all the pressure, tension build up to a certain point, then exploded. Why you are telling me this? For nothing. For nothing. All of a sudden you're yelling. You don't know where that emotion, that rage came from, because the tension has already built up to a point. Like, for nothing. For nothing. All of a sudden you're yelling. You don't know where that emotion, that rage came from, because the tension has already built up to a point, like a volcano exploded. So turn the awareness to your body, to know your body. Your body is your best friend, telling you a lot about yourself that you don't know. Okay, the more you do, the better you become to be able to relax the body, and that helps to calm your mind. And while you are aware of the condition of your body, you are also training the mind, cultivate the mind to have a clear awareness, which will bring out insight. When you see that, and naturally things become clearer and clearer in front of you, because you're constantly cultivating a clearer awareness. Deeper and deeper, you will notice your mental activity, the pattern you work, and then in the end, you'll be aware of the thoughts rising and perishing. Okay. Thank you for your question. Okay. All right. It was a few minutes past 9. Well, thank you for coming, and I wish you have a wonderful week next week. And if you're coming to the retreat,